All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to an episode of Old Reader, New Reader. Surprise, I invited all of my friends here tonight. Um, Last month, I had my monthly show with wonderful Phil, a.k.a. Shazam to Jam. Info in the description. And we're like, hey, let's choose something not DC, because Phil's been choosing some great DC runs, and usually shorter, very digestible. And I was like, let's read Sweet Tooth. It's like 30 issues. Good luck, Phil. And that's what happened. And then all these other friends had just read Sweet Tooth. And they're like, oh my God, it's so good. And I was like, well, you got to come hang out with us. And so I decided, let's have everybody hang out. And that's how this happened. So first of all, thank you all for hanging out with me and all of my friends today, here and in the chat. I really appreciate it. So I guess this is the first time I've had this many people. So I feel like I should do an awkward round robin of like who's who, or like a weird, like an old sitcom sort of deal, like Hollywood Squares or something. I don't know. That's a bad reference. Anyways, Phil.
Oh, me?
Yeah, my now monthly regular guest and friend and Twitch streamer. You can give a quick little, I don't know, bio about you.
Quick, I don't know. Okay, here we go. I think this is our fourth time doing this.
Isn't that wild? We haven't seen each other in like a bajillion years.
Yeah, seeing each other, no, ew. But doing this every month, no, I'm just playing. Yeah, but I've been reading comics since as long as I can remember. Usually we do like DC stuff, but like I said, or like Maddie said, I wanted to be the new reader for a change. So I'm very excited. Like I said, I'm big into comics. We met through like cosplay, and I'm big into video games. Just had a wonderful weekend going through all the highs and lows of E3, and I digested this 40-issue series in less than 24 hours. So I am hyped and ready to talk about this.
Yay. We are hyped and ready to have you. All right, next up in round robin, we have the lusciously, I still love the tagline of that.
It automatically loads. I don't have to do shit.
My friend from grad school, who I reconnected with because of comics, he was like, hey, I want to read some comics. I was like, hello, did you know that I am now on Comics YouTube? What's up? And since then, we've been hanging out online like this.
Maddie, do you remember how we met?
I didn't until you posted about it on Twitter, because I was talking about Dragon Age, and
you were talking about Dragon Age, and none of the other squares in diplomacy school knew what you were talking about. So then you and me wrote that paper on Mass Effect together. That's how we met.
On diplomacy and Mass Effect. Still proud of it. Years later.
So we're mega nerds, as you can tell. Hi, everybody. I'm Lee. Maddie and I have been friends for a couple years now. I read a lot of comic books when I was a kid, and then I took like a 15-year break, didn't read comics at all. And then in like 2017, I was really bored at work one day, actually. And I said, I think I should read some comics. And Maddie was like, have you heard about Saga? And like, so here we are.
It's the easy recommendation. It's a good first recommendation for everyone. It's like the gateway drug of comic books.
For sure. So, so now I don't know if you would call me a new reader or an old reader on Sweet Tooth. I read Sweet Tooth, most of it at least half of it, I think, like 2 years ago. I forgot everything about it. Whenever I was rereading it the past couple weekends, like I didn't remember any of the shit that happened, so I might as well be a new reader on this.
Perfect. And our newest reader, well, a new space to YouTube is Gabby, who's been hanging out in the chat for a while, for a few months, and the minute she showed up, like, Chris and I both were like, hey, we've decided to keep you. And then eventually I was like, friend you on Facebook, friend you on all social platforms, and I was like,
I was fangirling so hard when that happened. I was like, oh my God, she actually knows I exist. Oh my God.
We're super lame. I don't know what
I know. Well, I mean, I'm such a huge fangirl.
Oh, so. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm Gabby. I'm brand new to comics. I think I've been reading comics for 3 months, maybe. I got into comics because my dad, he's a really avid reader, and he loves watching. He loves watching Near Mid Condition and the Omnibus Collectors Network. And I was just always seeing his omnibuses, and I was like, I want to get into these things. So yeah, I am a media studies major in college, so I love, watching movies. I love breaking down TV shows and reading books, and yeah, I hope to explore that more with everyone. Yeah.
And last but not least, my platonic soulmate, Kristen, aka the Comic Slayer, aka my co-host. Every Sunday, we do our live show called Fangirls Assemble, where we just stick around, is what I refer to it as, where we have a topic, but really we're hanging out for an hour.
That's all right.
I don't know if you want to give a blurb or we just get into it. You've been here before.
I mean, I've been here. People know. I think people know that I'm here because I'm a Lemire super fan. I flashed my tattoo earlier. I'll do it again. That's from Essex County.
That's so awesome. I love
You got to read Essex County next, Gabby.
I am.
That's your homework from me.
Okay.
Oh, well, I feel so old. I've been in comics for 30 years now. Well, you don't want to know how old I'm turning in 2 weeks. Just know that I'm as old as Terminator 2. Exactly. Actually.
People are Googling it now.
What year did?
It came out July 3rd, 1991, which coincides with my birthday. What's up, fellow nerds? You guys look like the colorful cast of a Netflix show. Thank you. That's a great compliment.
I like that.
So we are here talking about, excuse me, you're not in the show.
Oh, she should be.
We are here talking about Sweet Tooth by Jeff Lemire. The whole series, which is about, you said 40 issues?
40 issues.
40 issues.
Yep.
And was just recently released in the compendium. Looks like the Grex just ordered it. Just got the compendium. I kind of wish it was hardcover. I haven't seen the compendium. I just read it digitally.
I ordered it. I can't wait until it comes in. I can't wait. I'm so excited.
But which is pretty great. It's pretty accessible now because I think the hardcovers are out of print, out of stock or something.
This one's like grossly out of print, unfortunately. Yeah.
But since the new show just came out, they're kind of, re-releasing stuff. So quick little summary info of what Sweet Tooth is, because we will get into some spoilers. But then again, us talking about it is not going to really spoil the whole thing for you. I promise there's a lot in this book. But we have a situation that's kind of like post-apocalyptic, where a virus has spread through the earth, a sickness.
Lol.
Feels really relatable for some reason. I'm not sure why. And at the same time, coincidentally, or so we think, these like hybrid babies are being born. So these people aren't having like human babies anymore. They're having like babies that are half animal. And so leads us to our protagonist, Gus, who is this young boy with antlers. And he's raised by this father in the middle of the woods, who's like a religious zealot, who basically is like, don't leave the woods, I'll take care of you, blah, blah, blah. It's crazy out there. You're the chosen one, that kind of piece. But of course something happens, and my dog is being extra right now. Catch yourself. Doing a show. And he has to kind of go out on his own and ends up going through a series of traumatic events with a vibrant cast, including one very titular role of Jeopard. Right? Is that right?
Yeah.
Yep.
That sounds like not a real name. Jeopard. Sounds
Jeopard
like
leopard.
Leopard. Jeopard like leopard. I like that. Who is a big guy, former hockey player.
Daddy.
A daddy and a total curmudgeon, which is my favorite trope.
I mean,
old curmudgeon guy, found family, adopts child, Mandalorian, and they kind of go through this journey together to kind of help him and help these other hybrid children. That's my very short what this whole thing is about, without getting into too many of the details. We will get into spoilers, but yeah, just say it's 2020, Maddie. I mean, I haven't seen the hybrid children yet, but we know we have lots of teens on TikTok with cat ears and stuff. That's not, I think, new in the anime community. Phil can vouch. So, But anyway, so there's a lot to cover in here, and I'm not exactly sure the best way to kind of split this up. I might have to lean on Kristen, aka our Lemire superfan, for help. But I guess we can talk about first impressions. So I'll start with Phil. Good comparison with Mando and Baby Yoda with Gus and Shepard. So Phil, like, we've mostly talked about DC stuff, and this is a very different comic book medium in style and in story, because Jeff Lemire's doing the artwork as well, which some people don't like. What was your first impression of Sweet Tooth?
You talking about like first diving into it?
Yeah.
So first impression, like, I just love the world building. It's very learn as you go, because it's mostly through the perspective of Gus. And so you don't know a lot of what happens to the world, just like the character. And they do Lemire does such a great job of making the character so likable. Like, by the end of the first issue, I'm like, nobody better hurt this child. And
right.
I know someone's going to hurt this child, but I hope you get hurt 20 times worse. And it just, like, I love when a writer can just connect with a fantasy world of their own creation in the first issue, because I don't think a lot of people realize how hard it is to create just a whole new fantasy world and make it interesting. Like, people can do that, but it cannot be interesting. And from the start, I'm already invested in this character, and I'm already skeptical of, like, the characters he interacts with, and I'm like, please don't talk to him, like, or please look out for them and stuff. So I was hooked the very first issue, and thankfully it's a journey that keeps building on itself, and all the moments that they have are well deserved and they're not forced.
All right, while I was sitting here, my dog knocked over my entire drink, which is really fun. Love that. I don't know where the straw is. My carpet is stained, and all the dogs are licking up the Diet Dr. Pepper and rum, so that's fun. So let's continue. So I guess we can go to, and eventually we can make this more fluid. I feel weird being like a weird moderator in this, but
you're a teacher. Call on us.
Gabby, our newest reader, which is really fun, because I used to be you 3 years ago.
Oh my god. Yeah, I'm having so much fun with this.
So how do you feel about, because you've been reading a variety of comic books.
Yeah.
This is very distinct.
Yeah. I was not expecting what I read. And I say that in a good way, because I decided to read this book because I saw yours and Kristen's video about, I think you guys mentioned that you were going to read it because of the Netflix show. And I love reading things that have a show or are going to come out with a show or any other kind of medium. So I was really excited. And then before I even picked up the book, I saw a picture of Gus in the show, right? I saw a picture of Gus in the show. And I was like, oh my God, he's so cute. Like, this is going to be so, like, lighthearted. Like, I can't wait to see Gus and frolic in the woods. Like,
no one's going to hurt this child.
Right. Like, I literally thought that I was going to see Gus be, like, just frolicking through the meadow with the rainbow. And it's just so cute. I need to read that. And then I read it, and I'm like, oh my God. Like, I'm sitting with my iPad. I read it digitally. And I had, like, my hand on my chest, like heart-wrenching. Because I wasn't expecting it to be so dark, but I usually read dark things, so that's why I wanted to read something a little bit lighter. But honestly, it couldn't have been better. It couldn't have been better. It's like my favorite. I bought it twice in 2 different mediums, so it's like I'm obsessed.
Good.
I would recommend it to everyone. But that's how
what we
I
like
feel.
to hear.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Gabby is a junior X-23. Just saying, maybe she'll read All New Wolverine. Now she is.
I am actually reading.
Good.
Great timing.
Oh my God, that's such a compliment. Thank you.
All right, Luscious Lee and Comic Book Slayer. I'm hitting you both because now we're gonna do.
Now we're gonna fight. We're gonna duke it out to talk.
Yeah, I want you to fight it out.
Go ahead, Kristen.
Well, this is probably my third time or so reading it. I reread it last year actually because I was like, oh, it's the pandemic. This will be different. And it was. I don't really remember much from the first time I read it because I read it back when it came out, which I believe was like 2009. Is that right? Can anybody clock me on that?
No, I'm just agreeing with you as if
it's like 2009 or something.
I'm like, yeah, of course.
And that was a different world. So rereading it last year was certainly, it felt more realistic. That's for sure. Felt more eerie to me. And yeah, I mean, Lemire's best quality, of course, is the emotional factor to every single character. You read, you're going to feel for them immediately. Of course, you love Gus immediately. And it's, it's like we've all said, no, we don't want anybody to hurt him, but it's probably going to happen and we're going to cry about it.
Yeah, so like not to repeat what anyone else has said, I'll say one, it's good shit when at the end of issue 1 you're standing in your seat and your wife is wondering why you're screaming into your Kindle and you're like, no, don't go with that strange, murderous, older, sexy man. Don't go with him. And then to Kristen's point, there's a scene later on where Lucy is going into work at the hospital and she passes by a plague victim who's outside for a smoke break. And he's just talking to her and you're like, what the fuck? Get from him. What are you doing, girl? There's a plague and you're standing next to him. So the book actually gave me like secondhand stress, like remembering the early days of the pandemic and stuff. But that's the thing, is like the book is like weirdly prescient, right? The book kind of sees 2020 coming in more ways than one. It sees like societal breakdown. It sees a plague. It sees the resurgence of religious fundamentalism as a driving force in society. And all that stuff comes together. It's fucking tremendous. And within that, you have every single character is just... some of them are hateable, but your main cast is so lovable in individual ways, even in ways that are staggeringly simple. For instance, I'm very, very close to getting a Bobby tattoo. Bobby is the little woodchuck dude.
I love Bobby.
Yes.
He's the best.
How can you not?
With you. I would so get one with you.
Bobby's emotional depth is wild considering the simplicity of his dialogue. Bobby, I'm sad. Bobby, I'm happy. Bobby, I'm asleep now. Those like small sentences like that give you such an insight into him, and it instantly connects you to him in the same way that you're connected to Jeopard and you got a fucking 20-issue backstory on Jeopard and why he is the way he is.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess it's a good next talking point because I was trying to think about this is pretty lengthy. So
Yeah,
how do you divide Sweet Tooth and talk about it, right? And I think the best way to do that is probably just to talk about characters, because it is kind of segmented that way.
Sure.
So, and I'm trying to make sure there's so much to talk about. So I'm trying not to keep everybody forever. Although I'm on vacation, so I don't work tomorrow, so I can talk forever. Not that I'm going anywhere because I couldn't make up my mind. But I guess we can start with his early life and his dad, because that's a very interesting character.
Yeah.
It's quick. The switch from Gus being at home and then leaving with Jeopard, that doesn't take long. But it is traumatic to watch what this kid goes through.
Yeah.
Because already it's not like it's a happy home life in a cabin in the middle of the woods.
He thinks it is.
He thinks it is, and he's pretty happy with his dad. But his dad is wild and out. He's got crazy eyes. He has developed this whole religious doctrine on his own, handwritten Bible that he recites with Gus, right? And so that's what Gus comes from. And then when Gus's dad dies, and he's just Gus doesn't know what to do, so it's just decomposing body is there for ever. And Gus just okay, keep on living.
It's the worst part.
Like, that was rough, you guys. I don't know how you guys felt about it, but ooh.
I thought like the first part of a religion was death rites and body I thought that was the first thing you come up with if you're writing your Yeah, he was predicting the apocalypse.
But yeah,
with a baby he stole. He stole a baby.
We forget that. We're just like, oh, you know, he's just in his cabin with his dad, you know, it's just normal. You know, no, it's not normal. But you forget that, like, his backstory, like, how he, like, was stolen. Like, it wasn't, like, his, you know, family or anything. You know, you forget that, those little details. So.
Yeah.
All right, so if I can sort of do this, who are everybody's, like, top 2 or 3 characters and why? Like I already told you, like first one for me is going to be Bobby, right? Because I love the simplicity and the lovability, and also like a little bit of badassness that is built into Bobby. My second is going to be Lucy. I absolutely love Lucy's arc and her strength and her sort of grit. And then my last one is actually going to be, I believe his name's Haggerty. Right, Psycho in the Dam.
No. That's a twist.
He is so well done because he's so nice and so perfect. You know that twist is gonna come, and when it hits, you're not.
I'm gonna give my dog peanut butter while you guys talk about this, but I haven't.
It's still jarring.
Go for it. Yes, you're not surprised that this is what happened, but you're jarred. It's jarred whenever that light switch flips.
Because everything he says is so picture perfect, right? And then you see them start to trust him, right? And then you know, like, okay, he's gonna switch up on them. Like you know it, but when it happens, it's like, oh, how dare you? I expected you to change your mind like halfway through that, you know? That's how I felt.
Yeah, because they finally have shelter, they have food in abundance. You know, they have
shit's going too well.
To be true, and then. I think Lucy says like, oh, you know, maybe we should have like good luck for a change. Like maybe this you know, this Project Evergreen, maybe like I think Jeopard is telling her like, we need to get out of here. Like, do you really trust this guy? And she's like, well, maybe I want some good luck. Maybe I want to have a little faith that this is okay, you know. And then it's just like it all just gets messed up after that.
The only way that situation works is if you kill the nice man living in the dam right when you get there. When you get there and he's like, oh yeah, self-sustaining farmland, the water from the river generates electricity, got this nice log cabin. You just pop him in the back of the head while he's explaining. I'm like, okay,
that's
guys.
That's what Jeopard wanted to do. That's like, I just wanted to kill this guy, like in the beginning, but I trusted Lucy because like he had like a soft spot for Lucy. So it was like, he was trying to balance this like really hard like edge, you know, this kind of sense of like distrust with, you know, trying to trust someone that he cares about, which is Lucy, and trying to like trust her judgment. So it's like he's kind of torn.
So I want to know your thoughts on this as well. Do you think that, I think this is a bit about like masculinity and toxic masculinity. He is so fighting to restrain his urge to violence. His first urge is to be violent. His second urge is to be aggressive. And he's realizing that no one around him is into those things. And he's trying to rein himself in and failing because the only thing he knows is aggression, right? He's conditioned into violence and aggression as a hockey player. He's conditioned into violence and aggression as a white man living in America. And he's trying to get through the apocalypse, which again reinforces all that violent behavior. So everyone else just wants a moment of peace and quiet, and the only way he can function is through violence.
Sounds like a Tom King male character.
It's kind of hard to really be hard on him, though, because the few moments that he let his guard down, like, cost him dearly. And like this, by the time we get to people in that world, everyone's like, it's kind of like expecting a blade to stay sharp while continuously using it. And it's just the man is tired and he barely has reasons to go on. Anyone barely has a reason to go on because you know, time is ticking away and you don't know when you're going to go. And that's if someone doesn't get to you first. And you're trying to decide, do you even want to fight for this life? But you have to
The
fight
losses don't stop.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it was cool too that like Jeopard, his main like driving force for his aggression, we learn in the book, is for his wife Louise, right? And then once she dies, he's like, you know what? I have nothing else to fight for. Like, I'm done fighting. That's all I know. That's all I know. So, like, what do I do now? And then he's like, okay, well, I have this kid. I have a new purpose. I have this kid stuck in my head that I just can't, like, I can't let him go. I just can't. Now I have a new purpose. And now I have to keep going. You know? So he has, like, those two people that he has to fight for. And then it expands. He has to fight for all of the hybrids, all of the kids. So.
I love that trope.
Yeah, and I love that moment. Like, even though we all knew it was coming, you know, he threw Gus at the bad guys, and he got the one thing he wanted, which is the body of his wife, left, did his thing, and then was like, you know what? Yeah, I do have a purpose to go on, and I need to get him back, and that stupid kid got in my head. And it's the best trope. It is. It's so good.
But man, okay, I know that we were going to talk about our favorite characters, and we still should. But if I can segue real quick to talk about the most heartbreaking moment for me, which is when we learn that Jeopard's son is alive.
Buddy.
And they show him this the saddest looking hybrid kid out of all the hybrid kids.
I know.
Because, I mean, they're all a little rough looking. But this one was real sad.
Buddy.
And they show him, right? You see Buddy, and they're like, this is your kid. You better, like, help us out. And he's like, he knows he can't. And he thinks Buddy's already dead. And he's like, I failed him again. This kid I never even saw. And the kid's like, Daddy, right? Oh my God.
Leaves him to be eaten by dogs.
Yeah, we were like, quickly, oh, he died real fast. We got that reveal, and then we thought he died. And it was like, no. That was horrible.
And then you see Abbott come in, and like, get your dogs off him. I will shoot you. Right, remember? Like.
All right, if I could direct it. So, Phil, I was curious about what some of your favorite, like, or not favorite, but more like, it's hard to say favorite when there's like a lot of really crappy things that happen to everybody, right?
Yeah, I love when this character suffered.
It was great. I guess like the most like, or like meaningful or like some like most impactful, you don't say that, but like favorite scenes of like this, or things that like stick out to you that were like, ooh, this is really good, or like, oh, that was rough, or like directions you liked from this. Because you're a classic comic book fan, right? So this is like, oh, this is rough.
I mean, I do read other things. I know we talk about DC a lot, but
oh yeah,
like I read other things as well.
When
and
you watch Sailor Moon, and that's just rough sometimes.
Honestly, it do be rough.
It does. Yeah.
They dancing and transforming, but yeah, the tears are real. But let's see. As far as like favorite moments, man, it's hard to really divide it just due to how fast I digested that whole book. Like,
yeah, I understand. That's why I don't remember everything. That's why I was panicking before the show. I was like, so much happened.
But there's one moment that kind of stuck out towards me towards the end, and I apologize that we're like jumping back and forth.
It's
like,
okay.
But it was when he ran into the I forget his name, but Jeopard ran into the other person he played hockey with before.
Oh yeah.
And you know, the way they just build up the suspense. So Jeopard is trying to get back to Gus. He realizes he made a mistake, and he's trying to wait to get a chance to get back to Gus again. And this mysterious guy captures him, and in your head you're like, oh my God, what kind of horrible person is this? And he's asking questions. He's like, I know you from somewhere. And Jeopard's like, I don't know you. You don't know me. He's like, no, you're militia, right? And you're thinking this is going to be like some horrible person, because this story has conditioned you that if it's a stranger, it's probably awful. And then he just goes, wait a minute. we played against you in the playoffs. You were on that so-and-so team. And, you know, he's this big, friendly person. He's scary looking. He's terrifying. But he's this friendly person that he used to play hockey with. And he's like, yeah, I help you. Do you still skate? He pulls out some ice skates. And they're skating around, just having this, like, lovely moment that, like, you just didn't expect to kind of, like, crack a smile while all this dreariness is, like, going on.
Yeah, I think those moments are really important in like any sort of series. You know, like I always say all the time, like superhero comics don't have enough of those like downtime moments, so you care more about the bigger moments, like manga does. But like, it's such a nice change. We're like, oh, look at this really nice, relaxing thing. Although your whole time you're like, when's it gonna end? When's the shoe gonna drop? Who's gonna ruin this?
Well, and that moment reminds me of so his hockey friend had the crow hybrid kid who would like chill with him, and he was lovely. And whenever the kids are around and they all play with him and he's like, you know, flying around, that little just moment where you feel so nice and happy. You know, horrible things happen later, but I love those little moments too.
I think they're needed. Like every time I can't help but think about that first moment where Gus meets the other hybrid children when he's like brought to the facility, and how different it is for him because he can speak, right? And the Wendy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Wendy can speak.
Yeah.
I got it this time. And Buddy can kind of speak. Most of them can't. Either they're like, because of their biology, they can't really produce words, or because they've never learned because they've just been in this facility or they haven't been taken care of, unlike Wendy and Gus, who've had sort of like a normal upbringing, which is just so sad. It's just like, you can just feel like this, what do? You have to be kind of it's like Gus kind of had to be in charge and had to be a leader. Of course, he was meant to be that, right? But like, he was kind of forced in that situation at that moment. He's like, well, shit, I can talk. I've had this, like, I mean, the basic education and not much. It's all by religious zealots. So like, I guess I kind of have to be this overseer of the group, which is a lot to put on this poor boy whose life is not what he thought it was going to be. And everything kind of got out of control. So how did you all feel about, like, compared to other post-apocalyptic world situations, right? Because this book is very similar. You could say it's very similar to something like Walking Dead or like a zombie fic almost, because you have the same feeling of like, you're on the run. It's a post-apocalyptic world, but your main like enemies are going to be other human people, different like groups of people or scientists, right? Who are looking for the cure but want to kill you to get it. How do you all feel about that comparison to that? Like, did it feel like that to you, or did it feel different? Look at me trying to lead a book club and not knowing good questions to ask.
I definitely can see.
Please go ahead, please.
Okay. The similarities with The Walking Dead, especially because, yeah, humanity is always the worst part. I do love how we followed a little kid the whole time. I think that's very different from what we usually get. And I loved, there were like 2 issues that was like Gus telling.
Let me highlight you. How do I do that? There we go.
I don't know.
Yeah.
There we go. It was like a storybook. You had to, turn your comic. But it was very much like a picture book, and he was narrating it. And, he calls Jeopard the big man, and everyone has a nickname, and he's telling the story. So you really get his perspective throughout the whole thing. But I did love these like 2 little storybook issues dispersed in it, because it really makes you be like, oh yeah, this kid is a kid. Like, I think we forget that throughout a lot of this, because he has so much on his shoulders and he is leading so much of this.
Yeah, absolutely, which is a great point, because his dad also told things to him like a story. So it makes sense that he would kind of view it the same way, even when he's older and kind of writing this all down. Lee, you were going to say something?
Yeah, so the vibe and the atmosphere of the book, for me, it rides this perfect line of whimsical and childlike, because you have that child's perspective, and like dark and grim. Like, I kept expecting this book to put sexual assault or rape in my face because, like, every single post-apocalyptic thing, it's like everyone's a rapist, and like, okay, so in a few places you see sexual violence, but it's usually hinted at, or it's in the backdrop and threatened rather than like using it in like a gonzo exploitive way. But that balance reminds me less of The Walking Dead and a lot more of Mad Max, specifically Road Warrior. Especially in the bits with the cult where they have like a war party with the cult with like semi trucks and stuff, and they're on their way with like the shirtless mask guys to take over the militia compound and everything. That to me, like I was flashing back to like Lord Humongous and his ferocious gay boys attacking.
Do you feel like Kentucky's going to turn into that if that ever happens? Because I feel like that sometimes.
This is why we got to read Warlords of Appalachia.
I know we do. Put it on next month.
But yeah, I felt like it had the perfect balance of like darkness and sort of the reality of what human nature would be in a post-apocalyptic setting, and then the whimsy and hopefulness of the kids. In The Walking Dead, you wouldn't get a scene like the snowman scene outside the mall when they wake up and it's snowed, and they build a snowman and they make snow angels and the kids throw snowballs at each other. You don't get those types of things in something that's really, really going for darkness and depression, because this book wants you to be hopeful, and that's the point of the end. Even if all of a sudden buff hot Gus is really fucking jarring, like this Gus fucks, right? It's jarring.
Yeah, at first I didn't even think that was Gus. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, please.
At first I didn't even think that was Gus at first. I was like, who's this guy? And I was like, oh, it's Gus. That's so crazy. I loved it. The ending was amazing. I think it wrapped up really well.
Yes.
Well, that's be my next question too. But first, Jade's my two favorite characters, Lucy and Zaddy turned Daddy Jeopard. I mean, yeah. So towards the end, we figure out, because like so far it feels more like a science-y sort of deal, right? Something has happened. There is a pandemic, and something's happened with like probably biology, which is the reason that like people are having hybrid kids. Like if you combine with like, I don't know, COVID with Handmaid's Tale or something, but you didn't have to deal with like the shitty part of Handmaid's Tale. Like real reality, not the book. It's fine. But so later on, we start to figure out that there's more of a magical bit to this, more of a spiritual bit that has to deal with like someone digging up these like ancient ruins of these like animal gods, and that's why this has happened. How did you all feel about that twist? Because I personally kind of enjoyed it. I was surprised that we end up taking more of a like fantasy version of this. Not that this wasn't fantasy, but like more of that type of that realm. Because we went more of a very like harsh reality to like, oh, there's something mystical about this. There's a kind of a reasoning behind these hybrids coming to Earth. I was curious how you feel about that. Well, and then we can get to the ending. Go ahead.
I really enjoyed it. Because you're given like different directions as to what it could possibly be. And, you know, I would say like in the first 1/4 of the book, you're just like, okay, no one knows why this happened, but people are abducting these hybrid kids and cutting them open to find a cure. And then, you know, we go from the scientific route to, you know, well, maybe this guy's dad knew something. And then we're like, oh, God, this guy's dad might have been nuts, but he might not even be his father. Now we need to go here and figure out. And I just love how, like, the Dr. Singh, he's basically trying to solve an unsolvable riddle at this point. Mm-hmm. And you can see they're trying to believe in science so bad, but it's just the facts aren't there for so long. And I love that it was, once again, kind of mankind's fault that this even happened. Because, you know, like mankind, they always say curious cat, but humanity is the one that pokes the hardest on anything that they shouldn't. And it was just a chain of events that led to something that no one could prevent. There wasn't a cure, there wasn't a solution. It's a bunch of mistakes that led to this point. And it's where do you go from here? And that's why I love like the last issue so much, because you got all your answers. Now what is the world that we're going to live in from this point forward? And they did such a beautiful job of pulling it all together towards the end.
Absolutely. I'm glad you brought up Dr. Singh too. I do want everybody else to answer the question, but I do want to mention, like, I do like that Dr. Singh, like, it makes sense. This guy was so focused on getting the answers, despite what he had to do, like, he wasn't getting the answers. So, of course, when he finds this book, when he figures out more about Gus, he's just like, well, nothing else makes sense. I might as well believe this book that I found and choose Gus as
worked out for the last dude.
Sure did, right? He's like, I'll choose Gus to be my savior because nothing else has worked. I need something to kind of keep me moving and hopeful because everything else is set. What about the rest of you?
I think Singh was a really important character in this, even if at times he was a little like annoying, and like his determination, and when everyone was just trying to figure out how are we going to stay safe, how are we going to just get everyone out of here, like he was just like, no, but Gus has to go to Alaska because even if that was annoying at times to me, anyway, in my personal opinion, I think without him, all of the like mystery behind his backstory and like the hybrids, I think it wouldn't have been uncovered. His character was really important and crucial to the story. And just wanted to mention that. Yeah.
So, Lee, it's your first time reading. How did you feel about the switch at the end? About the true answer to everything?
So I'll preface this with I love the book. This is like my only real gripe with the book.
Okay. What we'd like to hear some different opinions.
This is the cursed Native American burial ground trope. That's all this is. Like, oh, these mystical native people, whether they're Inuit or Eskimo, like they know about mystical things that white man can't understand, and so I got really excited when the book went full at the Mountains of Madness, and it was like a full-on like turn of the century Arctic expedition. I love that shit. It's one of my favorite settings. And then whenever it sort of turns to like, oh yeah, here's our sort of top-down native mythology that drives all this, I was kind of like, oh, okay, Native American mysticism. I've seen that before, whatever. But I forgive that in part because like the Native Americans are not portrayed as savages. They're portrayed as like smart, intelligent people who have rational decisions and make decisions based on like clear lines of thinking and stuff, and they're not like violent or sort of tokenized or anything. So
unlike a lot of comic books,
I'll forgive a lot of that, because I think like even though the book goes into that tropey territory for me, I don't think it's done as insensitively as it could have been. I have thoughts on the ending as well. That I love the ending. I don't have any problem with it, but I have thoughts that I think may differ from the rest of the group. So I want to see what other people say about the ending first.
And Chris and I kind of talked about how maybe, and if we're not going to really talk about the show because everybody's seen it on this chat, but I wouldn't be surprised if they change a bit of the
lore.
Or yeah,
and I was going to say I think they're definitely going to change that. I'm getting that vibe.
Yeah, they've already. It feels like they may go a different route. Because a lot of things we see with like shows taking over like TV shows or like comics later, is I feel like there's a lot of like comic writers are like making up for their mistakes from the past. They're like, maybe not this. Like the boys were like, no.
Yeah, I think it's been so many years that people were like, oh yeah, we could recognize that.
Yeah,
here are the
same
problems
with Invincible.
Yeah.
I guess we can talk about the ending. Because I remember when I first read it, I wasn't super pleased with the ending. I feel like I didn't need it. But at the same time, I'm thankful. for like what Phil said, that like I'm glad that I know what this world looks like after, because it's a big change. Like, you know, there's a lot different happening. It's interesting to see how the world functions. But there's a part of me that was okay if it just ended, that I never got the closure, and it just ended with like the sadness of like Jeopard, right?
So let me ask you, Maddie.
I feel a little bit differently now.
Let me ask you, is this a happy ending or a sad ending? Is this a they lived happily ever after, or is this in another direction?
I feel like it's ultimately happy, right? Because he got to live. He got to have a family. You know, humanity is still around.
The saddest part is Buddy. Buddy's a real bummer.
Well, but they kind of make up, right?
Yeah, I'm just sad for him.
It makes sense, though.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
this
it makes sense. I mean, he was abandoned, basically. And his father literally in front of him was like, nah.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, man, I've never met you. Now I met you and you let me eat my dogs.
Mm-hmm.
He would be a little angry as an adult. That makes sense.
It's understandable.
That's sad. Also, I didn't think we needed the whole, like, Gus and that girl together before he finally got with Wendy.
I mean, I agree. I didn't
That was
understand
a little weird to
point.
mention.
I didn't get the point of that either, but
I think Jeff had a spare character he didn't know what to do with.
But it didn't work out, and so then I got with Wendy, just so you know.
Yeah,
okay, weird flex.
Cool,
are you going to tell your kids you banged that blonde chick? No, I'm not going to tell my kids I banged the blonde.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I do want to share one of my favorites from the last issue, though, which is, of course, Bobby's around, which is wonderful.
We didn't talk enough about Bobby.
I know.
We need a whole show about Bobby.
I just love how, you know, Gus has 2 kids, and they're like, good night, Uncle Bobby, good night. And he's like, night, night, my loves, you have good dreams. And I love Bobby.
I can't think about Bobby. When I thought that Bobby would be dead, anytime any harm happened to Bobby,
yeah,
I can't even think about it right now. I could cry, literally.
I mean, we were not going to talk about the show, but the moment you see him in the show, Maddie, did you almost cry? Because I did.
Yes, because that's all I cared about was seeing Bobby. Okay.
All right,
you know, I loved. Oh, go ahead. No,
I was actually getting ready to pass it to you and Phil. I was going to say, so same question to y'all: is this a happy ending or is this a sad ending?
I think it was happy. I like Kristen said, I'm happy that he got to live his life, you know, have kids, and even if there were struggles along the way, you know, he lived a long life. We could say, yeah, I liked it, and I didn't expect to see Gus older at the end. I didn't expect that. I thought I would just read it just from his perspective, being a young kid. So I thought that was really cool. But yeah, I think it was happy, and I liked seeing him and like his home with like his grandchildren, right, his children, and it was like kind of like a switch up from seeing so many like people get murdered, and you know, the little sprinkles of like you know, just really like moments where you feel like your heart's melting, like when they're playing in the snow. And then back to when we were talking about like scenes that we really liked, I really liked when Jeopard and Louise were making like shadow puppets. I thought, like, I don't know if you guys remember that scene.
Yeah.
But I thought that was so like heartwarming. Yeah, and I always remember. And then when he like corrects her, like, that's not a rabbit, this is a rabbit. This is a bunny rabbit. And she's like, oh, you know, I loved that scene. But yeah, overall, I think the ending was happy, I think. So.
I think for me, like, if you're asking me for like a quick yes or no answer, it was a happy ending. But like, for me personally, like the way I view the ending, like with the character Gus, and especially like the journey that we had with Gus, the beautiful thing about the ending is it was an ending on Gus's terms. And
well said. Very well said.
And if you look back at like Gus's journey, everyone had a say in how Gus progressed going forward. And I just think the beauty of that final issue is we finally get to see what happens when Gus is the main deciding factor in his future versus everyone else, regardless of intentions, good or bad. This is his story from this point forward, and I think that's the true beauty in the ending for me personally.
Phil, that's beautiful. That's so well said. That's beautiful, Phil.
That was the perfect answer.
I know.
I wish I thought of it myself.
Kristen will pop later and be like, "Oh,
Yeah. Like
everybody else on the show was just like
I'm
so
gonna
good."
think of that forever.
They're gonna
Okay,
put that
so-
on the back of the book for quotes.
They should.
They should. Shazam the Jam says. Okay, so I want to get time for chat questions. If you guys don't mind staying over a little bit later, unless you're gotta go.
I'm fine.
But before we get to chat questions, because I'm sure that they'll have some just like regular questions to ask y'all, or some little prompts, we have to do our tradition of putting a rating on a book, which is difficult. But out of 10, I personally give Sweet Tooth a 10 out of 10. It's very, very good. I don't have any qualms with it. I love it. I love Lemire's art personally. I know it's not for everybody. Chris and I are a different kind of people.
That's right.
But I love this. I think it's perfect as is, and I think the show's perfect as it is. I'm happy with both.
I agree.
Oh yeah, we have a question, but we'll get to that after you get
For me,
10.
Same 10.
Sorry.
No. I mean, we both
We're just
agree.
going right in. 10.
Yeah, it's a 10 out of 10. If anyone has complaints about the art, like honestly, I think the art amplifies the story so much because you can say like, some people be like, oh, the art's ugly. And it's like, you know what? This is an ugly world we're reading. And this art needs to be like the art that it is, because you got to see, like, I was joking with myself at one point because I was like, man, like, looking at Jeopard, I was like, I could smell this art. Like, that man looked exhausted. Like, I could smell how exhausted it is. But it's definitely a 10 out of 10. Like, the only real gripe I had at the end, and it doesn't take away from the overall experience, is, you had the big baddie, Abbott, I think that was his name.
General Abbott.
And, he got his fingers shot off. And then towards the end, he's like got his full hand back. And I was the only one that noticed that?
I never noticed.
Same, actually. I forgot that his hand was like his fingers came off anyway. I completely forgot.
Yeah.
About
I mean,
that.
couldn't you have had like a doctor that like just sewed it on real quick?
Not just shot off, right?
Yeah, it was shot off.
Okay.
I don't know. If
Was it
things
like
were-
severed? Flew away?
Yeah, if it's cut off clean, you can put it back on, right?
Yeah, like they blew away like in different pieces. And I remember when it came to like the hybrid bird, and he was like, give me the rifle. And then he's like aiming, and I'm like, okay, I've been reading this book for hours, but let me flip back real quick. And then I was just like, make it make sense. How?
I never realized. That is so funny.
Like, it doesn't take away from the experience, but it's just one of those things. Once you notice it, you're just like, hold up. Like,
Clearly, Jeff didn't notice either.
That would have been me. I'd be that type of comic card. Are you kidding me?
but it's a 10 out of 10. Like, these are the kind of like stories that, like, it's always good to have. Like, like I have this big book of Sweet Tooth now, thanks to Maddie. But it's good to have the type of book where someone's ask, hey, I want something I never read before. What do you got on your shelf to recommend? And Sweet Tooth is one of those books where I can grab it and say, have you ever read this? Because if not, you need to borrow it.
Absolutely. Lee and Kristen, you're our last raters.
Can I ask Kristen, can you go to, I believe it's page 65? There's
At the beginning, I assume?
What does it mean?
Yeah. there's
Grab books.
there's a splash page that sold me the art. The whole way through, I'm like, oh, this art is okay. I don't know why people hate it. I don't know why people love it. Until there's like a splash page where Gus is being hypnotized by Sing, and Sing is walking Gus through the story of his life, looking for clues, and they're walking up and down Gus's antlers, and the panels are divided up into the prongs
Trying to remember
of Gus's antlers. I wrote it down as page 65, but that was in like the Kindle Unlimited version, so it might not be the same page.
Yeah, it's not.
Damn.
I think
Anyway.
that's way later. I'm looking for it.
Okay. So for me, the book is also 10 out of 10, despite like whatever the thing I said about like, I don't like the origin story or whatever. It's another 10 out of 10. But for me, it ends perfectly, but I was heartbroken by the ending. Thank you, Kristen. We can say
page 224.
Jesus Christ, I was way off. Okay.
But I found it. Yeah, this is awesome.
I absolutely adore. This is where I was really like, yeah, all right, this cartoonist knows what he's doing. Yeah. Thank you, Kristen. I apologize for getting that page number completely.
It's okay.
Now, Kristen, I'm going to assume what your answer is.
Yeah, you already know. This is 10 out of 10 for me. This is one of my favorite books probably of all time. I don't have a sweet tooth tattoo, but I probably need to get a Bobby tattoo now that we're talking about it.
Let's get matching Bobby tattoos.
Oh, we got to do it.
My dog's back again. Girl, I'm not done yet.
The dogs are like 10 out of 10.
Tell them. I'm pretty sure some of that drink got on some books, so this is great.
Oh, no.
It's fine. So Joe gives it 10 out of 10. This guy, it's like he's related to somebody here. It's so weird. We love you, Joe.
It's just so weird.
Jessica gives 8.5 out of 10. The fantasy elements were my jam. I don't love Lemire's art, but it matches the spirit of this book perfectly. And Jaden gives it a 9 out of 10 and has a question for you all. What comics make you cry? Like you can't form words type of cry.
Mm-hmm. Maddie and I are like too many.
I cry all the time, so I don't know.
Honestly, I haven't read that many comics, but I read Robin Year One, and there's a scene that made me cry. That made me almost cry. It's really brutal. Wasn't expecting it. I'm not sure if you've read it, but
I haven't.
I read it.
Oh, it's so good.
I wasn't expecting it, and I wanted to cry. I was ranting about it, like in the kitchen, just ranting, like, can't believe this. But I won't spoil anything, but
oh man, I cry with anything Roy Harper related. Like there were some, and that's because of my attachment to the character. It's not necessarily because of the strength of the storytelling or anything, but there was a short where he came into Red Hood and the Outlaws before he died, and I could feel it was coming. And there's like a big old page where he says, "See you, Jaybird," and I was like, "They're best friends." I was like sobbing. But I did cry a lot at Kiss number 8. I think it's because it spoke to me personally and my personal like growth of like my sexuality and stuff that like I remember just like sobbing and being like, I relate to this. I don't know if you can hear my dogs. I'll let somebody else answer the question.
Not to keep harping on Essex County, but anyone who's read it knows that one's going to hurt you real good and you will cry. So that's the one I'll go to.
There was a book. It's a run that's not really talked about. But Strazinsky's run on Brave or the Bold. And there's like the formula that Straczynski had when writing that book was just keeping it simple but personal. And they weren't like continuing arcs, it was just teaming up two characters. And there was a story that like just really hit me, and it had Green Lantern dying on a planet and his ring was dying. And he was poisoned during the fight. And Dr. Fate pops out of his ring. And he's like, "What's going on? You're dead." Like at the time, like Dr. Fate was dead. And Dr. Fate evidently like left a little bit of his presence inside something that can contain him, and that was the Green Lantern ring. And Hal never knew about this. And he's trying to help Hal get home. But Hal's piecing it together that I can't survive this, but if he helps me and he's out of here, he's gone. Like, this is it. And he's trying to tell Dr. Fate, this might have been the thing that killed you because you didn't have enough power and you died. Like, you don't know this because this is just a piece of yourself. But you have the power to go back and save yourself. And Dr. Fate, like, looks at him and he goes, there's, like, I'm gonna butcher it, like, word for word, but he says, like, this quote, he's like, there's an asteroid coming down at Earth, and people aren't sure what to do. And everyone's, like, panicking, and then someone notices an ant, and the ant lifts up its arms. And everyone's like, what are you doing? Like, you need to run. What are you doing? And the ant just replies to everyone, says, I'm just doing my part. And it's trying to, like, stop the asteroid, basically. He's like, I'm just doing my part. And Hal's like, why are you telling me this story? Before he sends them away. And he goes like, we're all just ants. And sometimes we just got to do our part. And then he uses his power to send Hal away. And basically, that was, like, the last possible chance to, like, save Dr. Fate. And he sacrificed himself to save a friend.
You're gonna make me cry.
I was just thinking Maddie's for sure crying at this.
No.
I cried everything. It's fine. That's beautiful. Lee, what about you? Maybe like Upgrade Soul.
So one is Upgrade Soul.
The book that
Another,
everyone should read. Look up nothing about it. Just read the book.
don't look up anything about
Anything.
Upgrade Soul. Just go buy it and read it.
Yeah.
I
It's my number. I think it's my number one. I think I've recommended it most out of any book ever.
Hell of a book. Incredible book. One I did not expect to hit me as hard as it hit me was actually Tom Taylor's Injustice run.
Okay.
Without spoiling it, there's a scene where Dinah and Superman are talking in a graveyard about something that has happened, and she puts, like, Superman's actions back into his face. That scene actually like had me crying. And then the last one, I won't spoil it, is I just got the BPRD Devil You Know Omni. It just came in. I've never read it before, so like this is me, like, finally finishing Hellboy's story, and the way Hellboy's story, like, finally comes to an end, like made me cry for sure.
So another question was asked earlier, related to the book. Which animal hybrid would you like to be? I want to be a sloth. Obviously, it's no question. We all know this.
I mean, that's
Giraffe Dude seems super impractical.
What?
Giraffe Dude at the end, where they're, like, charging to battle against the last surviving tribe of humans. There's a Giraffe Dude in the background. That seems like a horrible idea.
Phil, you were saying something. Which one would you?
Well, now I can't stop thinking of Giraffe Dude.
I mean, you read One Piece. There's Kaku in there, right? Like, that's a giraffe person.
But he can transform.
That's true.
He's part-time committed.
This
is full-time commitment.
And he does look really goofy.
Yeah. I mean, that's a scary question, because it's like, what percentage am I getting?
That's
like,
true, because you could be, like, Bobby's, like, full, almost. He's, like, 80%.
I mean, yeah, I'm just gonna hope. I'm gonna pick some type of bird and just hope that wings are on my back.
I was gonna say that. Some kind of bird.
I was thinking the
Even
same
though I'm
thing.
really scared of birds. Birds scare me.
Kristen, I thought you'd say cat, because you were, like, the cat person.
Yeah, but I mean, I want to be able to fly, right? I guess
That's
cats can, like, climb up a tree. I could get away from people
Maybe,
like that.
Flying squirrel. That's a good, like, mix, right?
Ooh.
That's good.
What do you do with the skin in the meantime when you're not, like, soaring across the night sky?
Yeah.
Just lift them.
It's the same as wings, you know? I mean, our wings, I don't have much on because I have a cardigan. Let's see. And I'd say sloth. I probably wouldn't be, but that's the first thing. I thought I saw another question, but I didn't. So I guess I won't worry. Oh, somebody wants us to read Sweet Tooth: The Return. We could. Chris, have you read that? Is it good?
I have not finished it.
Okay.
So I cannot say yet.
Got it. Joe says, Lee, you are amazing, sir. Agree with that injustice scene 100%.
Oh, thanks, Joe.
Read Day Tripper, you will all cry. I cry at Day Tripper. And I cry with, Blankets. Blankets is good.
Yeah, it's great.
Of course.
The issue Ultimate Spider-Man when Peter Parker dies had me tore up.
That's
Yeah.
Spoiler.
I did it, Aunt May. Yeah, that hurts.
Trying some Chinese for you. 你是一个很棒的人，我喜欢你的节目. Oh, thank you. Says I'm a great person and he likes my program. 谢谢你啊.
Lovely.
Oh.
Sometimes I forget I speak Chinese.
Did we address the question of whether Lee thought it was a happy or sad ending?
Thank you. I knew there was another question. Did you think it was a happy or sad ending? Says Joe.
This ending absolutely breaks my fucking heart. It's a perfect ending to the story. The story ends absolutely perfectly. Bobby and Gus lose every single facet of their personalities in their quest for one, survival, and then two, the building of their new civilization. Gus loses all of his innocence, all of his naivete because of the weight of leadership. And Bobby makes that change into a guy who can cleave someone's head open with a wood axe, right? These two characters that are defined by their innocence and their hopefulness are forced because of the weight of leadership. Gus was born to lead this. He was born to do it. It's destiny. He can't get out of it. He has to do it. I don't think Gus has as much agency as some other people do. I see what you're saying where you're like, Gus got to live his life, but he didn't. Gus never got to go back to that cabin and have peace in his life again. He gets it a little bit when he's an old man and he dies in his sleep, right? He gets a little bit of peace there. Up until that point, it's struggle, it's famine, it's warfare, it's internal division from the people he loves most, his brothers. That ending to me, when it turns around and all of a sudden Gus is a ripped warrior, that for me, I was like, holy shit, this is a sad ending. Because he's not innocent anymore. He doesn't get to be naive and hopeful anymore. He has to fucking slaughter people. Do you remember when Gus kills the crocodile kid with the brick?
Yeah.
How fucked up he is over killing that dude? He doesn't blink when he shoots those two hunters.
Yeah.
Doesn't faze him. All of that, not even humanity, all of that empathy is fucking gone. As soon as our survival situation kicks in, now morality's out the door.
I mean, that's a good point.
He does the same thing in battle. No, there's no choice now. Fucking kill them all. Until 3 pages later when he decides, no, we can live with them.
Yeah.
Yeah, that ending to me is just brutal. It's about the weight of the crown. Mm-hmm. I feel like I brought this down so far. There's so much. We were all laughing and having a good time, and I kept pausing to see if someone was going to say something. It was just fucking silence.
I really look forward to I hope that you and Phil both watch the show, and then I should make a group chat or something so you could message us after, because I want to know what you all think, because the vibe is different. I mean, it's dark, but the vibe is much more hopeful. That Gus is adorable, and things are very different. I love Jeopard in both places, but you know how I feel about old curmudgeon men. Nothing changes. I love them. When I showed the casting for that, I was like, yes. No question. I love that man. Perfect. Thank you so much for asking that. I'll have another haul video this week. This month. I think that's the pandemic that got me. I have free time to make videos, and then I'm like, but what do I do? I'm sure moving was a part of that, though. Well, I guess thank you all for hanging out with me, and I hope you all come back. I'm sure that you'll all hear from me as I plan next month's videos, which I have not planned. And I should, because it used to be that July, because it was just me. Now it's now it's just me. It used to not be just me. I would like, oh, it's my birthday month. I have to play all the best books or whatever. And now it's me all the time. So it's different. So I'm like, okay, what do I choose for July for birthday month? I don't know. But I'm sure.
What day is your birthday, Maddie?
July 3rd, 1990. Or sorry, July 3rd. It's a Saturday.
Oh, cool. Nice.
Going to the Ren Fair. That's what I do.
Ooh.
Treat yourself.
They give me free stuff. Our local Ren Fair gives you free stuff on your birthday. They give you dollars. They pin $1 to you, and everybody gets you $1 because it's your birthday. And I'm gonna pretend I have permission, guys. It's above board. Pretend like I'm not married, so the Vikings give me drinks.
Nice.
Because they think I'm cute. And I will take that.
I thought you were saying this is your hall pass day or whatever.
No.
Nicole and I have talked about renewing our vows at one of the little chapel things at a Ren Fair and having some guy dressed as Henry VIII redo our vows and shit.
That's cute. I like that. Oh, Sky G, you're so nice. Thank you.
Damn.
And thanks for writing in some Chinese. That was really cool. Thank you, Scotty. You're the best. Wait, we have more questions. James asked if you've watched Schitt's Creek, Lee.
No, I know Kristen has a Schitt's Creek shirt on, and I've heard
because
other
Kristen
people.
and I watched Schitt's Creek at the same time. We're both like, "Did you watch it?" Yeah, I watched it. Did you watch it? And we freaked out.
I have no insight into that show whatsoever. I know of it. I know there's a comedy called Schitt's Creek that people like. I don't know what it's about. I don't know the premise. I don't know any
It'll get you
characters.
eventually. That's just what happens.
You need to.
After my 90th Black Sales rewatch, I'll try.
I mean, we'll talk about it after the show's over, but your girl's on 3rd season, so.
Yes.
All right.
I will get all of you eventually. All of you watching, I will have all of you.
By the way, don't click off yet when I end the show because everybody stays on here so I can say my other thanks. But my show, thank you all for hanging out. For those of you who want to catch Phil, aka Shazam to Jam, on Twitch, his info is in the description. He will definitely be back on. He has no choice. So I'm sure he and I will decide something next month. I put in a contract that he has to be here every month. So thank you to Lee and Gabby and Kristen for hanging out tonight. I really appreciate you. This is what happens every time people come on. It's just a ploy for me to ask you on again. I hope you'll like this video. Comment down below if you read says Schitt's Creek. That's not what this is. Sweet Tooth. Let us know what you thought about. If you have any recommendations going forward, subscribe, Patreon, all that stuff. Patreon did vote for our pick of the month, which I already forgot which one it is, but it is a Transformers book, and it'll be next Tuesday. So I'll be here with Dan, who is one of the co-people of Near Mint Condition. He is the Transformers guy. He has so many Transformers in his office. It's insane. And we are reading a Transformers. I think it's more than meets the eye. I don't know anything about Transformers. So it'll be very interesting next Tuesday to see what I think. Because, again, I saw the live-action movies, a couple of them, and I watched one anime movie and I fell asleep. So hopefully I like it. But, yeah. So I'll see you all next week. And thank you all again for joining me. And thank you for the chat for hanging out with us.